Hi, my name is Lenamarie Gorski. I'm a birth, postpartum doula, and childbirth educator. I created this mini birth series for new expectant parents, VBAC parents, maybe parents that have had children but didn't have the best experiences and they want to change that this time around. I strongly believe that the key to a good birth is not whether or not your birth is unmedicated, but that it is educated to make the right choices for you and your baby every step of the way. The main goal of this series is to educate you on informed consent, the rights in birth, preparing a birth plan, as well as outlining the stages of birth and infant care. Part 1 of this series, we covered the signs and stages of labor. You can put in the hashtag birth with a voice or mini birth series to find all of the videos in this series. Part 2 is going to cover informed consent and language of consent. This, in my opinion, is the most important thing in your birth education. My first piece of advice to everyone is to always ask questions. This includes at your very first OB appointment. So you should be interviewing doctors and midwives to see if you guys align in the birth process. Here are some important questions that I have everybody ask. What is your induction policy? What are your views on doulas, if you plan on having one? What are the mandatory tests and procedures in this pregnancy? Do you require cervical checks at 36 weeks? What is your pushing protocol? If you decide that you don't want to push on your back, really discuss this. And what is your protocol on IV use? That is for my moms that are pretty queasy when it comes to needles. All right, now let's get into informed consent. I'm going to read you the definition of informed consent from the Oxford Dictionary. Informed consent is permission granted in the knowledge of the possible consequences, typically that which is given by a doctor to a patient for treatment with full knowledge of the possibility of risks and benefits. So what does this mean? Basically, when you go in to have a baby or any procedure, you can apply this to everything that you ever do medically. You have the right to know the risks and the benefits of the procedure. Now, in all cases, not every provider follows this, so then it lies on the patient to ask questions, which is hard when you're in labor because your mind is kind of somewhere else. I always follow the acronym with my clients, myself and my children, when I'm taking care of their medical things, called BRAIN. B-R-A-I-N. What does this mean? BRAIN stands for benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, and nothing. So let's use a scenario where we can apply this BRAIN acronym. And one of the most popular ones that I can always think of is breaking your water. So when it comes to breaking your water, typically you're going to be met with the benefits of this. The benefits of the situation, which would be, oh, your baby's going to move down, things are going to move so much quicker. But there are also risks that are involved with this speeding up of labor. For example, now you're more susceptible to infection since your membranes have been ruptured. So depending on the station of the baby will be important to know. That's going to be very important for you to make an informed choice. If you're at a 3, this really isn't going to speed anything up very quickly. But if you're at a 7 to a 9, this could be a different story. So let's apply BRAIN. Okay, so what are the benefits of this? Your baby could come faster. What are the risks? Potential infection and a higher chance of a C-section. What are the alternatives? Using movement, getting the peanut ball if you have an epidural. What is your intuition telling you? So I think this one is the most important thing, really, when it comes to it. What is your gut telling you? And this is where I'm going to tell you somewhere where my client went against me and went with her gut, and she was right. So I was advising a client who was only at a 5. Maybe it's not the best choice, when we were discussing it, since it was her first baby and being at a 5, you could be there for a while. She just said to me, this feels right. And I said, okay. And she did it, and the baby was there in a few hours. So sometimes you just know. Sometimes you know better than everybody else. So using that intuition is going to be key in all of this. So I know that people were like, intuition, how does that help me? It'll help you more than you know, because just myself, having my clients make these decisions, I see all the time they use their gut, and they're usually always right. And then we have our N, which stands for nothing. If you're unsure, baby's doing fine, you're doing fine, you have the option to literally do nothing and just wait it out and just keep going with your own labor and your birth plan. You don't always have to, have an intervention. Sometimes you can just wait. Labor and birth, they take time. Lastly, I always want you to remember the language of consent. Just because you've decided to give birth in a certain facility doesn't mean you've handed over all of your bodily autonomy. Nobody should be walking in and saying, I'm here to check your cervix. They should always be saying, may I check your cervix? Can I check your cervix? Would you like a cervical check? There's always a choice when it comes to your body. This is still your body. This is still your choice. This is still your vagina. Nobody should be touching it without your consent. Just like any other scenario. Don't ever feel pressured because they use language that doesn't feel like you don't have an option. These may be doctors, these may be, nurses, but you still have an option. Everything is a choice. Nothing is mandatory, nothing is required. The only time you're not going to have a chance to consent is when it is an emergency, which I think we all understand that. I don't think any of us are, really in the state of mind to even think about language of consent in an emergency. But during a regular birth where everything is fine and everything's going, hunky-dory, there should always be language of consent. So that's my overview of informed consent and language of consent. I know it feels like a lot of information, so I created informed consent flashcards so you don't have to remember the questions and things like that. So if you're interested, leave a comment below this video and I will message you the link. While the series is pre-recorded, I encourage you to ask questions on all of the posts and I will answer them. I really love to interact with everybody, and if there's enough interest, I will host a live Q&A. Just leave a comment and I'll schedule one. Don't forget to click on the link in my bio or below this video to subscribe to my email list. If you're on TikTok, just hit that follow button and head over to my Instagram and click on the link in that bio. Or over to my YouTube channel, because it will not let me post a link on TikTok. If you subscribe to my email list, you will get all of my series offers and handouts from this video and any other videos if you just ask. Thank you for letting me be a part of your journey, and tune in next Monday, because now that all the graduations are done and everything, I'm going to be back on track for part 3 of this series, which is preparing for birth and preparing your birth plan. Thank you for letting me help you birth with a voice.